Hello students. Hope all of you are keeping safe and taking all precautions. I hope that all of you are done with your summer vacation task too. We gave you matter in our surroundings as your summer task. In this video, we are going to discuss about concepts of this unit which you have already explored, being an active learner. First of all, let us have a look at the purpose and criteria of chemistry syllabus for this trimester. The syllabus in grade 9 starts with unit matter, which is macroscopic, and then progresses towards the study of microscopic atoms and molecules. When we discuss about matter, which is defined as something which has mass and volume, along with that we observe that it is particulate. All the matter that we see or do not see is made up of particles. All these particles have some common characteristics. Let us discuss about these characteristics of particles of matter. So first characteristic is particles of matter are very small. We can prove this by doing this experiment. You must have tried it during your summer vacation tasks. We take 100 ml of water and add 2-3 drops of potassium permanganate, or you can take ink also, or any other colored substance into it. From this 100 ml, we take 10 ml and dissolve it in another 100 ml of water. We take 10 ml from this and dissolve it in another 100 ml. And we take 10 ml from this third beaker and dissolve it in the fourth set of 100 ml water. So we observe that the colored solution is getting fainter and fainter as we move towards the fourth set of dilution. This shows that the particles of the potassium permanganate are too much over here, and slowly their number gets reduced as we keep on diluting them. When we keep on diluting them, even though the number is being reduced, but the particles are showing their existence in the form of faint pink color, which shows that particles of matter are very small. The second characteristic of the particles of matter is particles are always in the continuous motion. So we can prove this by putting colored ink in a drop in huge volume of water and keeping that beaker undisturbed for some time. We observe that the whole beaker has become, the water in the beaker has become completely colorful. This we observe in our everyday life, like when we keep incense stick in one corner of the room, the smell or perfume of that incense stick reaches to all the corners of the room after some time. When your mother is cooking something interesting in the kitchen, you can smell it in your room. So this proves that particles of matter are having kinetic energy or they are in continuous motion. The third feature of all particles shared commonly is particles of matter have spaces between them. This we can prove by dissolving any of the solid in the water. So when we take a certain volume of water and dissolve like salt or sugar in it, we observe that the volume of water is same, although salt and sugar is not visible. So where are these salt or sugar particles gone? Yes, absolutely correct. They have taken the space inside the water. The water particles have space between them, which has been occupied by sugar and salt particles now. The last but not the least is the particles of matter have attraction between them. So these particles, depending upon the forces of attraction between them, the space between them, the kinetic energy possessed by them, in 3 different states, namely solid, liquid and gases. You already know the particulate properties and the physical properties of these 3 states of matter. Let us discuss about the 4th state of matter called as plasma. Naturally, this state exists in stars. At very high temperature, gaseous atoms lose electrons and become mixture of free moving electrons and their nuclei. This is called as plasma. There is fifth state of matter also called as BEC, Bose-Einstein condensate. I would like you to find more about it. Here we observe that all these three states of matter can easily interchange by change in the temperature and pressure conditions. For example, when ammonia gas is liquefied, there are two conditions which are essential. First, lowering of temperature and increase in the pressure. The lowering of temperature decreases the kinetic energy of the particles, and increase in the pressure brings about the particles near to each other, making the gas into liquid state or bringing the gas from gaseous state to liquid state. In general, we observe that energy is released when a more organized state like solid changes to a less organized state that is liquid. When these interchange of states is happening, we observe that some part of this heat is used but is not shown in the form of rise in temperature. This heat is hidden and is called as latent heat. For example, when we take a certain mass of ice and start heating it, it keeps on absorbing heat, but the temperature is constant at 0 degrees Celsius. Where is this heat going? It is being used up by the particles to overcome forces of attraction. When whole of this ice is converted into liquid, then the temperature starts increasing. And then when it reaches at 100 degrees Celsius, we again observe that the temperature has become constant, although we are continuously providing heat. So this heat, which is being used up by the particles to overcome forces of attraction, is called as latent heat. We have two latent heats at two stages. One is latent heat of fusion, which is defined as the heat used or the heat required to convert 1 kilogram of ice, 1 kilogram of any solid into liquid at its melting point at normal atmospheric pressure. Similarly, the latent heat of vaporization is the amount of heat required to convert any liquid, 1 kilogram of any liquid at its boiling point at normal atmospheric pressure. So we observe that the latent heat possessed by steam is much higher. Hence, the steam is used as a source of energy to run the locomotives. Steam, when condenses on any person's hand, causes severe burn injuries as compared to the water at 100 degrees Celsius. Now let us discuss about evaporation and vaporization. So here, both evaporation and vaporization are the processes which involve change in the liquid state to gaseous state. But evaporation is a surface phenomena, whereas vaporization is a bulk phenomena. In evaporation, the liquid particles on the top surface of the liquid gets converted into gaseous state by absorbing the energy from the surroundings. Whereas in vaporization, there is external source of energy which is provided, which brings about the change in the liquid to gaseous state within the whole volume of the liquid. And when the pressure exerted by this vapor, which is created in the whole bulk, is similar to the external pressure, we say that the liquid has reached its boiling point. That's since the change is happening throughout the volume of the liquid, we say that boiling or vaporization is a bulk phenomena. Now this evaporation process happens at room temperature. Most of the time it occurs below the boiling point of the liquid, whereas boiling or vaporization will occur at a specific temperature called as boiling point. We can define this boiling point as the temperature at which the vapor pressure of the liquid equalizes with the external pressure. External pressure is mostly the atmospheric pressure which is exerted on the surface of the liquid. Again, the process happens at normal atmospheric pressure. So this is a recap or a revisit to the differences between evaporation and vaporization processes. You have learned these differences during your summer task already. So let us go through them once. So evaporation is the process by which liquid changes to its vapor at the temperature below its boiling point, whereas vaporization happens at boiling point. It takes place at all temperature. Vaporization will occur only at a fixed temperature. Evaporation is slow and silent process. Vaporization is fast and violent process. Evaporation takes place only at the surface of liquid. As we say, it is a surface phenomena, whereas this is a bulk phenomena where it takes place throughout the entire mass of the liquid. Now let us discuss the relation between atmospheric pressure and boiling point. So what is boiling point? Boiling point is the temperature at which the vapor pressure of the liquid equalizes with the atmospheric pressure. So we can see directly that atmospheric pressure is directly related to the vapor pressure. So we observe that water at the sea level or ground level will boil at 100 degrees Celsius. As we go higher up into the mountains, let's say at 6,000 feet, water will boil at 93 degrees Celsius. At 10,000 feet on the mountain, it will boil at 90 degrees Celsius. At 20,000 feet on the mountains, it will boil at 79 degrees Celsius. So as we go higher and higher into the atmosphere, the temperature at which water will boil, all the boiling point of the water will decrease. Why does this happen? This happens because at the ground level, the atmospheric pressure is at its highest since the atmosphere or air is very, very dense. To equalize with such type of atmospheric pressure, water has to absorb more heat, thereby reaching the vapor pressure which equalizes with that particular atmospheric pressure. Since it absorbs more heat, the boiling point of the water is more. As we go higher up at 20,000 feet, the atmospheric pressure is less because the air is thin. Since the atmospheric pressure is less, water can reach the vapor pressure of the water while boiling can reach that atmospheric pressure very quickly by absorbing less heat, thereby reducing the boiling point. Hence, we observe that lower the atmospheric pressure, lower will be the boiling point of the liquid. Higher the atmospheric pressure, higher will be the boiling point of the liquid. What are the factors affecting evaporation now? The factors affecting evaporation are temperature. Higher the temperature, higher will be the rate of or speed of evaporation. That's what we have observed in the summer months. Just recently, when we were going through the summer, our clothes used to get dried up within 1 hour or 2 hours. But as now the monsoon is approaching, we will observe or we may come across that clothes take a lot of time to dry up. Because the temperature difference is there. In summer, the temperature is more, the clothes dry up quickly. In monsoon, the temperature is less and humidity is also more, the clothes take more time to dry. Wind speed. Higher the wind speed, higher will be the rate of evaporation. Since wind will carry away the water molecules, evaporated water molecules or water vapor along with them, there will be more space for water vapor to be accommodated. Next is surface area. We increase the surface area of the liquid, there will be increase in the rate of evaporation. So that is the difference why when we drink the tea from the cup, we feel hot, whereas the same tea when we pour it in the saucer, it is cooler. Higher the humidity, lesser will be the rate of evaporation. So Since humidity means the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere, if there is more water vapor in the atmosphere, that is more humid condition, lesser will be the rate of evaporation. That's why we observe that shore places like Bombay or Chennai are having more humidity, hence the rate of evaporation is very less and we always sweat over there. Whereas in dry places like Hyderabad, humidity is very less, hence the rate of evaporation is very high. So this was the recap of the summer vacation task, the concepts that you have learnt in this particular unit. We have given you the class task which is based on this particular unit to revisit, to recall all the concepts that you have learnt in this chapter, followed by a evening task again which is based on this. In the next session, we are going to discuss further about melting point and boiling point of the liquid. Thanks for now. See you next time.